Welcome back, subscribers. I just did a quick, I don't know, like a prelude to the Genius Act, real world assets, and excitement about the future for the market and prosperity in the United States, etc. But I'm going to. I thought I was like, well, as positive I am about it, I have to also tell you that for every positive, there's a negative, and I always tell people that you know you have to have these ebbs and flows and ups and downs. And I learned about hermetic wisdom philosophy, if you will. There's seven hermetic laws, and it essentially has to do with polarity shifts, masculine and feminine, north and south, night and day, that type of thing. So anyway, it means like it can't always be good times. You got to have good times, bad times. Yeah, that's because you would never know of a good time unless you had a bad time. You would never really understand love fully unless you had your heart broken. I mean, truly, when you really think about it, and it sounds very twisted. Um, Pain and pleasure, however you want to look at it. So whatever, that the thing is, if you write it down, sketch it out, and you'd be like, okay, I need to have something that's perfectly balanced, right? I need to have energy that's on the other side of it in order to keep this energy, to make the value of that emotional experience be really valuable for me to really have an understanding of it. When you were young and you learn new things, the reason why you learn the hard way is because you learned it the wrong way and get whacked on the head. So from my experience in business, adults are nothing more than just bigger children. There's really not any difference. They're a little bit more reserved, but they still do some absolute stupid things. No rhyme or reason. They just don't think, and they do. And like I said, they're just bigger babies. That's all it really is. And everybody goes through this. Maybe you're really reserved and very zen with your world, and you keep everything in check. But look around you. That's not how the general population runs themselves. So anyway, that's the reality of it. So what does that mean if we're going into this exciting new world that I'm talking about, 2027, 2030, out to 2050, and the prosperity of things in the United States? Well, that means that we're going to be going through a little bit of a downturn. So in order to be able to make room for the new, you have to get rid of the old. And when that happens, it's think about remodeling. Like if you're going to be remodeling a house, we have to do demolition first. And the demolition is absolutely super messy. I have experience doing this, very large projects, very wealthy people. A lot of times we would do remodeling projects on houses, like $500,000 remodels and up, 750, and additions going into the existing house. Most of the time, these clients would like buy the house and then give us kind of a set date that they wanted to have it done and move into it. So we would have like no one living in the house, which made it better. But a lot of times it just didn't work out that way, and people maybe didn't have the resources to do that, whatever, and they'd be living in the house while we're remodeling. Now, it wouldn't be like an over the top gut job, but they would be living in the house and seeing progress as it went and things like that. And I would tell people, like, you don't want to see what we're going to do to your house. Like, you're not going to want to see this. They're like, oh, no, it's okay. I'm like, I'm destroying your home. It can be traumatizing for somebody. I remember it was part of my, nobody told me to do this, but I don't know. I guess I could just always sense that it's a part of them. And if they've lived it, they've lived the house, and they see that a wall's blown out or the bathroom has been gutted out. Now there's no, magic happened in that shower with my husband. You took it out, whatever. I'm just saying. But anyway, you're clean slating it, and until you get to that point, I mean, it looks like it looks like a bomb went off in the house. All right. And this is their house. And it's that point. It's like, imagine having surgery done on you and you're told totally awake. If you've ever had a procedure done outpatient and just gotten local, just got, whatever, Novocaine, something like local done on it, and you watch it, um, I get, sometimes I can handle it, but sometimes I'll just get sick. It'll make me sick to my stomach just to see kind of like what's going on, the tugging and the pulling and so on, not to get too graphic. But, and I've got a very high pain threshold because I don't get any Novocaine when I go to the dentist. If I have any dental work done, um, cavities anyway, if there's any drilling or anything, they just drill it. So at any rate, whenever you go through the removal of something or the creation of something, um, you you have to demolish. You have to demolish what was already in place. Like what was constructed, you have to take it out. And the financial system is going to have some of that demolition, and you're going to have large institutions moving large sums of money in certain positions, and they're doing it basically to harvest the game. When these types of things happen in history, whenever they have one of these kind of market resets, it's a time to make money. And the whatever, if you want to call them ruling elite or whatever the hell you want to call them, they know this. They know the cycles, and cycles usually come about every 100 years. And whenever they happen, that's whenever generational wealth happens. So they're prepared for it and say like, okay, well, if I slide from here over to here, there needs to be some destruction before there's creation, just like you're remodeling something. You're not getting like the new financial system. You're like, okay, you're heading into the new financial system. Well, that means no, it's going to be like, they're not flushing the whole thing down the can. Everybody needs to get that crap out of their head. If you think that's a solution, then yeah, everyone is, they would all assume to be idiots. Be like, well, that's not the case. They're going to take the existing system and they're going to think of it as a cake, and they're just putting another layer on the cake. All right. Are they band-aiding the system? Be like, I wouldn't call it band-aiding. I'd say they're bringing everything into the system. They're repairing a lot of the corruptive measures that are inside the system or were in the system. Like we're at this transitionary point. They're getting rid of the corruptiveness of the system, in that I go into this into our private site and explain this. This has to do with beneficial ownership. This has to do with, the United States is a huge tax haven. Up until about the end of last year, whenever they changed the rules, they changed the administrative rules of what you could and couldn't do here. Okay, as far as the business goes. So this environmental change is making business owners in the United States be honest about, I own this and I own this company and these are the assets. Sounds pretty simple for the, explaining it to people, but that's not how corporations and people were doing it. I don't mean the big corporations like, the Teslas and the Apples and things like that. I'm talking about people open up LLCs, whether they're domestic and United States citizens or outside adversaries. And this isn't China and Russia and all that other crap. It's people from all over the world that could open up a company, a small LLC, and use it as a filtration mechanism to take money and use the United States as a filter to basically offshore their money and not pay any taxation on it. And I explain this in the site of how this used to work in the past. People are still doing this, and they're going to get in big effing trouble. All right. This is all ended as of about January 1st of last year, 2024. When we flipped over to 2025, that's when they're like, okay, guys, enough's enough. We're not doing this anymore. Once they clean that up, that was like a shot across the bow and saying like, okay, guys, all this dirty money that's coming through and in and out of the United States, that's it. You can't do it anymore. That's a good thing. Is that going to cause disruption in our markets? You bet your ass it is. Yes, sir. Is it going to be pretty? Probably not. But if you educate yourself, and you'll at least know that whatever they put out on MSNBC or CNN or whatever else, and Trump caused the market to crash, you're like, no, 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 no. No, this is way above him. And if you can learn about some of these other points that are interrelated to this beneficial ownership, you'll start to have a sense of this. What is the master plan moving forward over the next 20 to 30 years? Like, how do I need to place myself so I don't stay thinking like I need to follow the Dave Ramsey playbook to a T, or what's Warren Buffett doing? Even though, yeah, it's like, but that type of thinking, like old money, old thinking, ultra conservative. Yes. But they've added some new tools to the toolbox, and they can be, used to your advantage as long as you know how they work in the new system. It's very exciting. But guess what? Most people don't know how to use a tool. All right. The rich that develop the tool, they know how to use the tool. All right. They're the ones that created the market. So educate yourself on these new facets of, financial independence. And once you educate yourself on them and wrap your head around it, then you'll understand as to why, the propaganda machine is trying to push you away from it, because it's that good. They don't want you to know about these new changes and things that are coming in, so they can basically take up the territory. That's the whole game, everyone. That's the way it's always worked. They're looking at digital, how can I put this that makes the most sense? All right, so you have real world land, like land, I'm going to put a stake in the ground, declare this for Spain, for England, whatever else. Drop a flag in the ground. Good job, guys. We just stole this land. No, you declared it from people that didn't have it on record. Now we're recording the declaration of this land. Once the land has all been recorded as real property, now they're like, what if we open up it to outer space in the metaverse? This goes back to the Lima Peru Agreement. This is talked about in 1962. This has already been covered. Everyone keeps thinking outer space is space aliens. I'm like, that's part of it. I know it's really crazy. But the other part of it is the metaverse, the electronic world, the ether of the internet, and being able to take real assets and have them be digitally identified in the metaverse. It's absolutely it's the craziest shit ever. So basically, they're going to take a mirrored copy of the existing footprint of land, and they're going to mirror it in the metaverse and double the amount of assets that are available inside the metaverse. It is nuts. So anyway, that's in a nutshell what's happening behind the scenes. So I'm going to be covering this because it's highly interesting to me. I know there's a huge opportunity that's in place because I already have kind of an angle on it. And as we move forward, I'm going to be gathering data for my company, and we're just going to be timestamping it for everyone else because there's no real reason. And that's the reason why it's behind a paywall, but there's no reason why it needs to be hidden and you have to go through, multi-generations to figure it out again. All right. The market is either up or down, very obviously. But if you've ever traded before, the difference between if you make a guess and you're like, sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. Well, when you're talking about your family, your placement of your life, your job, your investment of time, you don't have that. You can't lose. It's a slow moving ship. You need to make sure the heading is going in a general direction that is a high probability of success. Otherwise, you just pissed away your whole existence. I mean, if you go 20 or 30 years and your ship's heading in the wrong direction and you're never going to hit land, you're never going to get to retirement, whatever. That's not a good place to be. And inside of the kind of like the mindset of normal humans of what they educate is to educate you away from understanding their system. They don't want you to be part of it. They're not elite. They're just holding the cards because they're the ones that created the freaking cards. They don't want you to know and be like, oh my gosh, nobody's going to want this card. Tell them it's garbage and it's crap. Yeah, tell them Bitcoin and all crypto is like, it's poison. Tell them that. And then behind the scenes, we're going to buy it. We're going to get our hands on all of them. Yeah, we're going to trick them. And then we're going to rug pull them. Oh my gosh. Yeah. They do this every freaking time, everyone. So anyway, now that I'm actually starting to see it come to fruition and it's hitting in the real space of how these coins and tokens are actually going to be used, I'm like, okay, no question about it. My speculative investments in crypto are absolutely like gold. So if you're in crypto, congratulations. Way to move it. Now the next question is moving forward. If you're not, pay attention because your life is going to change. If you are, now what do you do with it? Just because you got lucky and you punched that card and you won that, you're in the lottery, what are you going to do with it? Are you going from a trailer and going and buying, a multi-million-dollar house and go buy some Lambos and just burn it up? Or are you going to be smart and you're going to keep that money and make more money with it? Or at least put it into an environment where you can not put yourself into a situation that you have no understanding about. It's a gift. Don't squander the gift. Understand how the business works, understand what they're driving towards so that it sets you up for the future. Because usually people only get one shot, and don't screw it up. People screw it up because they think that they know. Be like, you're going to know based upon data and information from other large businesses and what they're doing. Pay attention to that. It doesn't freaking matter what you think. It's what everybody else is doing. The doers do. The doers are the ones that push the reality forward. The thinkers are on the steps, in their tie-dye, in their hippie clothes and bullshit, smoking dope and not getting anything done. That's the way it works. Dude, let's talk about fixing the planet. Like, no, that shit isn't going to happen. Palladians aren't going to rescue you. It's not going to be the Arcturians. There isn't going to be some alien intervention that's going to save the planet. Feel like the only ones that are going to save are us. So you just have to come to this conclusion and say, like, okay, the doers always do. The consumers always consume. So you're either a consumer or a doer. Which one is it going to be? Cheers.